This episode of Eat It Up is brought to you by Consumers Beverages. Head over to consumersbeverages.com and find out what's on tap. And by Buffalo.com. Head over to buffalo.com/audio to listen to other great Audio Buffalo podcasts featuring Nick Mandola, Buffa Blog, and more. On today's podcast, we have Rich Tilyou, the owner of T-Meadow Farms. Rich came down and talked about his farm where he raises heritage breed pigs used by some of the best restaurants in Buffalo. Let's get to it.
I've had actually some of your pork a couple of times, like at Bistro Europa, and at a secret omakase dinner.
Oh, you had it? Oh, they brought it there too, did they? Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It was very awesome.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, thank you for giving me some.
Yeah.
When I came in with the package, Ellie was like her eyes like lit up. She's like, "Is that
cool.
bacon?"
It is. And the tomatoes are ripe now, so BLTs are perfect season. For BLT.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about the backstory of the farm. I know recently it's gotten really popular in terms of restaurants using it, or at least like chefs like Steve, and I know Bruce uses it for the Copa products.
Right.
How did the whole T-Meadow? How
did it start?
Yeah.
Well, it was actually we ended up buying a farm. We lived on a busy road, and we had two young boys, and we just wanted a place that they could just be outside and grow up like I did as a kid. I had a wonderful childhood just growing up, hunting, fishing, being outdoors.
On a farm or no?
I was in the suburbs with their farms all around us. I was in Sanborn, New York. And then we decided that we were going to look for a big piece of property, and this farm came up for sale, so we bought it. And we lived there a year. I was planting pine trees, different things on the farm to just promote wildlife and turn it into a recreational property, when I discovered there's poison ivy absolutely everywhere. Ended up with just a horrible reaction to the poison ivy the one year.
Oh, jeez.
And, I also teach, and I had to go to school with these bandages and everything. I look like a Revolutionary War victim. But the result of that forced me to look into how to eradicate the poison ivy.
Yeah.
I don't want to use chemicals. I don't believe in using all the different chemicals. You can use Roundup and different things.
Yeah.
So
I saw your post about the beehive that you had.
Oh yeah. Same
and then
thing.
somebody was saying like, "Oh, just shoot it with this stuff." And I saw your little contraption with the vacuum cleaner.
It's a great way to do it without using chemicals. It's a perfect way. But the method I encountered was just with talking to people was have livestock do it.
Oh, really?
Poison ivy's high in protein. It's up to 14% protein. So white-tailed deer, it's a big food source for them. So I figured, okay, well, let's look at that.
Yeah.
People suggested goats and beef and things. I said, no, I've got to do something different. So we ended up finding out about heritage breed pigs.
Okay.
And finding out that they do well outdoors. We didn't have barns for them. We just built small structures for them, and it just fit our farm perfectly to reclaim the farm.
Yeah.
And that's how we got into it. I made a couple phone calls, and at the time, there were not many people doing it at all.
Yeah.
It was hard to find breeders.
So what is like a difference between like a heritage?
Heritage breed is it's analogous to an heirloom variety.
Oh, okay.
It's a breed that was developed in the 1800s for different attributes. In most of the cases, they're European breeds. These are English breeds that we're into. The Tamworth, which is the Irish grazing hog.
Okay.
And the Gloucestershire Old Spot. The Tamworth is known as a bacon hog. It's a leaner hog. They do tremendously well on pasture, extremely hardy, very rambunctious. It's more like a Labrador Retriever, just running around.
I've actually never even thought that pigs could be like different, personalities.
The personality difference is amazing. The Old Spot is more like a Basset Hound. They just kind of hang around and do their thing. Anyway, the result of that research led us to find a couple of people breeding them. We ended up buying 3 hogs the first year and decided to breed them.
Yeah.
And we were just doing it for family and friends. We wanted to have meat that was fit to eat, not exposed to the antibiotics and the different chemicals that they use in the commercial world.
Yeah.
And there's also an animal welfare aspect to this as well. We wanted to make sure that these guys were going to be outdoors, having a good time, being what they were intended for, just out rooting and grazing and having a good time.
I mean, did you have any experience before this with like raising animals?
A little bit. We, through the years, ended up raising a few things like chickens and rabbits, and I had some commercial hogs, which are grade pigs, blue butts, Yorkshire crosses, things like that we'd raise out. Just buy them as feeders and raise them out. Yeah. Much different arrangement. This was completely different for me. The learning curve was huge. Yeah, I call it tuition. Every time you learn something, it usually costs you a huge mistake and a lot of money. Usually a lot of money.
Was there a couple of those moments?
Big time. One of the biggest mistakes we ever made was getting too big too fast. And I was warned by a farmer, a great guy out of Western Pennsylvania, Mark Briggs. He told me, hey, go to as many farms as you can possibly go to. And this is the best advice that we ever had. Yeah. Go to as many farms as you can possibly go to. Take note of what you like. Take note of what you don't like. And incorporate those things that you do like in your farm. And every farm out there is different. You all do things your way in different ways for different reasons. And that was the best advice we had. The second piece of advice from Mark was don't get too big too fast. And we had an instance where we had a friend that was a Tamworth breeder, had health issues, and he had to sell off his herd. And we ended up purchasing, 3 or 4 bred sows without the physical plant ready for them. We didn't have the pastures ready and everything. And it just turned into one comedy of errors after another. The farm started driving us than us controlling the farm. Yeah. So that was definitely the best piece of advice I could give to anybody getting into animals. Just do it slow. That's all.
Just do it slow and steady and learn on the go at a reasonable pace, I guess. Yeah. So as far as like taste and everything, I mean, what is it that makes? Because I mean, I've heard only fantastic things about your pigs that you raise there, and it seems like there's a big difference as far as I mean, everything I've had is just outstanding, just delicious. I mean, is there a process that you're doing that is geared towards that, or? Well, actually, it's the genetics of the breed. Yeah. The breeds definitely have fat marbled through them. You've heard Steve Gedra mention how they're fat pigs. There's a lot of fat, a lot of lard. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that too. One of them is we raise them outdoors. They have to have fat. Yeah. That's their winter coat. I mean, they have to provide a thick cap on them just to survive the winters. I mean, we have pretty harsh winters here. Yeah. So a lot of that energy that we're putting into the hog is going to fat, and I know people consider that waste. But these chefs that are working with it, Steve, Bruce, Carmelo, Ramondi of Carmelo's, Joe Kennedy, they're utilizing that. Yeah. And it's funny because Bruce told me that they did a taste test with our pork and different pork. Carmelo was involved with it too. Mm-hmm. And he said there's definitely a floral flavor. It's a different flavor between our pork and other pork. Yeah. Commercial pork is bred to have the fat taken out of it. The cap layer on commercial pork might be a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. Ours is going to be 3/4 to 1.5 inches. Sometimes in the winter months, it might be 2.5, 3 inches. That is a fat pig.
It is a fat pig. Yeah.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I noticed I can taste the difference for sure. So when you start raising pigs, like you started as kind of like friends and family. Can have a little here or there. Like, how did you start expanding your customer base? Like,
well, what happened was it was just a series of events that led to. Yeah, it's okay. The series of events that led to that were we had a breed, the Gloucestershire Old Spot, was probably the rarest pig in the U.S.
Really,
extremely rare. We're down to in 1996. We were down to 2 animals.
Are you serious?
Left in the U.S. Jeez. Yeah. Now, what happened was a group of people at the New England Heritage Breeds Conservancy. It was a nonprofit, government funded with grant money and things. It was an organization that actually brought over 40 animals from England. The funding ran out. That herd had to be dispersed. So that was the gene pool we had to work with. Okay. So from those 40 animals, we lost some through attrition and just failure to breed, whatever. Small herd. So a farm in eastern New York called Flying Pigs Farm. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're in the Hudson Valley. They're probably 2 years ahead of us in raising hogs. They found out we had old spots, and they called us, and they said, we'll take every old spot you can give us. Wow. I told them we have Tamworth, and they said, we'll take the Tamworth also. What they would do is they would purchase the pigs at 8 weeks from us. We would load up the trucks and the trailers, and we'd run out to the Albany area and meet them and transfer 30, 40 pigs to them at a time.
Jeez.
And they would finish them out and deliver to their customers in New York City.
Yeah.
And
now, is that because I heard, do they supply like some big people too, right?
They do. I'm not sure they're customers any longer, but
okay.
They sell in some of the farmers markets in New York as well.
Okay.
Very big operation. They're the farm that everybody refers to when they talk pastured pigs in that area.
Okay.
Now, Jen Small came out to a conference. I was just talking to her about how we're going to get some piglets to her.
Yeah.
And she said that she was going to be in our area at a Field of Fork conference. I'd never heard of it before. So I started looking into that, made a phone call, and I got a hold of Krista Satiel.
Oh, okay.
And Krista was more than accommodating to make sure that I could get in there. The seating was limited, etc. I attended that conference, and that's the introduction to the chefs in the Buffalo area.
Okay.
So it's all through Krista.
God, I feel like if we had $1 for every time that one of our guests has brought up Krista and how she's helped out, like I think that's all right. I think it's pretty much every guest we've had so far.
Well, Bruce was at the conference.
Oh, okay.
And he came over and talked to me, and Carmelo was there. Subsequent to that, Krista talked to me about a farm tour through the Feed Your Soul, and she brought a group of people out. We had chefs from Park. Well, James Roberts was in that original tour. We had Wegmans. There was a few different restaurants there. She had one day of chefs come out, and then or industry people, and the next day she brought out just consumers and people that were foodies and just wanted to learn more about local sourcing.
Yeah,
and it was a kickoff for us.
Nice.
So
how long ago was that roughly?
That might have been 2009, maybe.
Okay,
probably 2009.
Yeah, that was kind of the start of the foodie upswing, I think, in Buffalo. It was right around that time when people started thinking it was cool to eat.
It was interesting because we'd never entertained that idea whatsoever.
Like you thought, like basically just you'd be raising them to the 8 weeks part?
Yeah, and a part of that raising them to 8 weeks, because they're the rarest breed, or both of them are rare breed. The Tamworth is a fairly rare breed as well. The phone calls started happening for registered breeding piglets.
Oh, really?
So we could put registered pairs together and set up breeders across the U.S. So we ended up sending pigs all over the country.
Wow.
And we would get up 5 a.m, load up a piglet into a dog crate and drive to the Buffalo airport.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And Buffalo airport, you have to go right to the ticket counter.
Yeah.
And it's kind of embarrassing to stand at a ticket counter and have a pig standing there with you. People saying, "Oh, let me see your puppy," and they look at it, "Oh my God, it's a pig." So there was some fun times there.
That's great. I had no idea that you flew pigs out essentially.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. You can't drive across the country.
Actually, it's with the cost of fuel. It's the best way to do it. It's roughly $300.
Yeah.
To ship one anywhere in the U.S.
That's insane.
Yeah. But it made it, again, because we had the Buffalo airport here and we weren't afraid to do it, people across the country were contacting us for setting up breeders. So we sold a lot of breeding pigs across the U.S. this way. And as that word got out that pork was so good and people looking for a backyard pig, a heritage breed, homesteading, everything took off. So it was just the perfect timing.
Wow.
Another thing that happened too is the grain prices were spiking with the ethanol plant production and things. Like the cost of grains were just, of corn particularly, was just going through the roof. A lot of people were bailing out of hogs at that point.
Yeah, because that's like the commercial sense.
Exactly. Well, it was just too expensive to feed them throughout the winter.
Yeah.
We took an opposite approach. I I just think back to Rodney Dangerfield, and I think it was back to school where he gets the phone call. He goes, "What? The stock's falling. The stock's falling. Well, sell. What? Everybody else is selling? Well, buy. Well, that's what I was doing. Everybody was selling out, and we were actually buying more and more breeding stock during that period. So when it all came out in the spring, we had pigs and nobody else did. So it really worked out well for us to do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice little coincide.
Yeah, well, we took a chance.
That's smart, that
we took a chance. There's a lot of risk out there, We're all, a broken piece of equipment away from folding. It's tough. It's a fine line.
The farmer industry isn't,
Yeah, it's tough, definitely.
People don't go into it to make a lot of money, basically.
Some are more successful than others.
True.
And the people that are doing it the way I'm doing it, it's the appreciation, it's fun, it's definitely animal welfare oriented. It's completely about the animal.
That's awesome.
And that's why this is fun. When I take an animal into Steve, he respects that animal. He respects every breath that animal took, and he uses and utilizes every part of that pig. And that's what makes it so rewarding, is that work that you put into that animal, all that time and energy, that there's appreciation for it, and it shows.
Yeah.
So
has there built like a community of pig farmers, I guess you could say? Like, I mean, is there? Because when I talk to like chefs or other people, they always talk about that's all they think about all day. They cook all day, and then they go home and they read about cooking. Like, are there places where you're going to read about pigs and
there are different Yahoo groups and different things that you can go to and seek out information. First, getting into this at first, it was terrible. There was just nothing out there. There's a couple of articles about people raising hogs on pasture. It was 2 generations ago or so that people were doing it this way, and those folks are all dead and gone. So it's trying to go back to the basics. And we get to talking to different people that are having successes and failures, and learning from the failures of people is one of the most important things. If it didn't work out for somebody, you find out why and don't do that mistake yourself. But also report out if you had something that works. Tell people if you had something that didn't work. Don't be afraid to tell people.
Yeah.
And the community is set up, and the groups and the chat boards, all these things are set up to help each other. It's a very
It's awesome.
It is. It's a very amazing group of folks that are all like-minded and help each other out.
And they just want to raise the profile just in general.
Yeah. I have several just great friends that I've never met. I just talked to them on the phone and through the internet.
Wow.
So it's been a great time for it. We took a family vacation. We mixed business and pleasure here a couple of weeks ago. Went to North Carolina. We took some pigs down with us, and I got to meet a friend of mine, Paul Seabolt, in North Carolina. It was a good time. I talked to him for probably 2 or 3 years now on the phone 2 times a week, and got to know him real well, and finally got to meet him. So
that's cool.
And so it's a lot of fun, very rewarding.
Yeah, and I mean, the internet and everything, that it's just making everything smaller, so it's easier to get a hold of those people and
it is
find those communities and everything.
Yeah, and the chefs too. You form friendships with the folks, and it's just it's a great time. We party together. We have it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. So now you've started to get into the restaurants in the area. I mean, it's not a lot of it's select chefs, I'm assuming. Is that a conscious decision that you want to make sure that it's going to the right places? Because I mean, everyone who has it right now is very talented. And
we are cognizant of the fact we've made a few mistakes there too, where people tried our product and for the wrong reason, just to say that they had it and they had it and they had the name and they put it on their menu even though they did not have the product.
I did read about that.
It's kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
It's a strange way of flattery. It's disturbing to hear. It's upsetting. All the work that the folks like Carmelo, Joe Kennedy, at Spars, Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, these folks are putting in a lot of work. It's not easy to buy a whole hog.
No.
It's a ton of work. I don't know if you've seen them break it down at all.
I really want to. It seems I just want to see the process, but I've watched like the Kickstarter video for Bruce and things like that, where it shows them kind of working on it. It seems, I mean, it's a lengthy process.
It is.
And it takes a lot of skill. Like, not anybody can just do this.
It's a huge process to just go further, to break it down into individual pieces, grind it, clean up, curing, all this. It just takes a tremendous amount of time. It's a huge investment on their part.
Yeah.
So when the restaurant advertises that they're using our pork really isn't, and they've got a pork chop for $5 less, how is that even acceptable or fair to the guys that are working hard?
Yeah,
it's just wrong.
Yeah, so, I agree.
So we squelched that right away.
That's understandable.
But honestly, we're at capacity right now. We're not interested in raising more animals to try to set up more restaurants. We're happy and comfortable where we are.
Well, I mean, it's probably a smaller percentage of the whole process, right? Or because I'm assuming these are full raised pigs that you're providing the restaurants?
Yes.
As opposed to the 8 weeks that...
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
We're typically the market weight hogs that we take to restaurants are 8 to 9 months old. And the old spots, sometimes we'll let those go to 10 months. They're a little slower growing.
Yeah.
And that's why the cost has to go up, too. There's more feed in them for the pounds of pork. So it's not like a commercial hog where you can put the feed to them and they're in a barn and all the energy is being used for muscle production. And, you can get them to market in 5.5 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're definitely slow-grown food here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not cutting any corners.
No. We could push them a little harder, but we don't want to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How many pigs roughly are at your farm at any given point?
Anywhere between 75 and 150.
Okay.
It's a small number. We just continually rotate it to try to produce for the restaurants and for our farmers markets. So we're typically trying to finish out about 12 animals a month.
Okay.
And that's, like I said, it's just my wife and my 2 sons and I doing it. So that's about all we are interested in here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So since this process has begun and you've grown with the business and the farms and pigs and having this new appreciation, mm-hmm. I guess for a pig in general, has it become like? Do you find yourself now like? I feel like if I was around it all the time and I got to sample it all the time, I would just be obsessed. Like I feel. I mean, I love pork to begin with. Like, it is my favorite meat. If it's ever on a menu, I go to it. Like, has that happened to you, where now you appreciate actually just the product, like eating pork more?
It's interesting. An interesting question. I was reading on your website today about your food background, and your food background is similar to mine and my wife's. Where we didn't have fine restaurants to go to. I mean, you had the Ground Round or Denny's or something growing up. There's the real fine restaurants were out of touch price-wise. We couldn't go to those. Mm-hmm. And, we're out in the sticks, so there wasn't too much around for us. Yeah. But having Carmelo, Steve, Bruce cook for, our pork, it's just, that is like Christmas when we go in for dinner. It's just absolutely amazing. So, we go crazy going into the restaurants and having dinner. They're very good to us.
Nice. And so that's like pushed your food knowledge, I guess, and appetites and things like that.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
At home, we try to incorporate some of the things that we're learning. I love to cook, and we do play around with some different things and curing and charcuterie and smoking. So it's it's been rewarding in that fashion. So.
I can't beat that.
No, you can't. Bacon is wonderful.
Amen to that. So you mentioned that you sell to farmers markets as well. I mean, is that products that are produced by you guys? Or?
Yes. No, everything that we produce is or sell is
or
produced
like
on our farm.
The butchering part.
No, the butchering part all has to be done at USDA.
Oh.
A USDA facility, and the problem is it's extremely regulated, and the United States has lost processing plants at the rate of 25% per year.
Oh, geez.
And it's down to a very small percentage that's left here in New York. Well, a lot of the processing plants that do process under USDA inspection don't do secondary processing, which means packaging for resale with a USDA bullet on it, or making sausage or making bacon. So as a result of this, we have to put a lot of miles on our vehicles to
get it out there
in individual cuts, and that's why the cost has to go up.
Yeah.
Right now, the choices that we have are either to head to Pennsylvania or Utica, and actually there's one in the southern tier now that's starting to do the sausage and bacon now in the Olean area.
Okay.
So it's a hike either way.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a downer.
Yeah, we combine trips. We load up the stock trailer, and we'll take as many animals as we think we can sell during the next period of time, and we'll drop them off, and we'll pick the product up.
Okay.
Bring that home.
So let's say somebody's listening to this, where could they find your farmer market meats?
We sell at the Williamsville Farmers Market on Spring Street. It's actually behind the Eagle House.
Right. Yes.
Coffee Culture's right there.
Yeah.
So that's set up on Saturdays from 8 to 1.
Okay.
And it runs from May to the end of October, last Saturday of October.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, and we also sell out of the freezer. You
have like at the farm?
Yeah.
You can come right down?
Yep, we sell out of the freezer at the farm by appointment.
Okay.
We also do, if I'm making trips into Buffalo and people send us an email and I'm in the area, I'll deliver.
Nice.
Yeah, so
nice. You'll get it out there.
Yeah, it gets around.
I mean, have you noticed now that restaurants are using it and it's becoming more known to the foodie culture, I would say, have you noticed an increase in civilians, I'll say?
Oh, yes. As soon as somebody walks by the farmer's market and they look up and they say, T-Meadow Farm, hey, that's what we just had at Europa last night. Let's go grab it.
Oh, nice.
You had somebody coming out of Carmelo's recently. I just had some pork chops from Carmelo's. I've got to have some. How do I get to your place? Yeah, so it does work out great that way.
Nice. I mean, a better educated, customer is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And the people that are eating at these restaurants are similar in fashion also. They want to know where their food came from.
Yeah.
And they're conscious of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And so, I mean, you said that right now you're kind of at capacity. You're happy where you are. I mean, is there like a long-term plan? I mean, is there like goals you'd like to see?
Well, there are. I mean, we could take the numbers up a little bit, and we likely will, but it'll be a real slow process of growing. We're trying to go more toward sustainability. We'll never be 100% sustainable. We'll always have to buy some food and bring it from off the farm onto the farm.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're out foraging. The animals are out foraging 100% of the time.
So, I mean, I feel like I don't know if we talked about this. What is their main diet?
Well, the main diet, we have them outdoors on pasture. They're grazing 100% of the time. Yeah. We do supplement with a commercial grain and hay. They eat a tremendous amount of hay.
Nice.
And we do harvest the hay on our property. We're to the point where the hay is sustainable. We don't need to bring that off the property.
Okay.
From outside the property. We eventually would like to get into some grain crops and continue, managing our costs by providing food that's fit to eat for the hogs too. So
nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Mm-hmm. As time goes, and again, it's just a learning curve, and takes a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, when you're investing, 8 months into an animal, I mean, that's a pretty serious commitment.
It is a commitment, and there's a lot that can happen to that animal in those 8 months of time. I mean, you become a veterinarian, and that's another issue in this, and there are just not a whole lot of swine vets out there.
Oh, really?
People across the country are in trouble because of that. Large animal vets don't make as much money as vets that are taking care of little, lap dogs and things where it's 4 times the price of a call.
Yeah.
So people aren't getting into it very actively.
It kind of is it seems like that's in general the farm industry, unfortunately, right now.
It is. It's a friend of mine, Paul, said, the farmer, everybody's trying to keep you out of business. Between bacteria, virus, fungus, taxes, the government, the weather. So many people are trying to keep you down, and that's true. You kind of roll with it, and it's a challenge every day. It's different every day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, as you're raising these, you 75 to 150 pigs, like. Mm-hmm. would you say that you have a relationship with each of the pigs?
Some of them, not each of them. Some of them. We have certain animals that are definitely pets, and they're going to live out their entire life on our property.
Okay.
And, others that we know are going to be going into the cooler or to a restaurant. We obviously, think of them a little differently, and, you still respect them, but you can't get too attached. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. How does the differentiate happen between what turns into a pet and what turns into a cooler?
There's a couple of reasons. The first one is be nice or be eaten. If there's anything that shows any kind of aggression, it's gone. We don't put up with it. We're talking about 300 to 400 pound live weight animals here.
Yeah,
and they can hurt you.
Yeah.
We have a boar that's 800 pounds and has 3-inch tusks, and they're razor sharp. I mean,
Jeez.
But he's passive. If he weren't, he wouldn't be there. The other thing is for breeding stock conformation. If there's something that's not, it's just similar to the dog world as well. There's certain standards of the breed, and if the animals don't have that standard, the gene pool is so small, we're not going to pull that animal out and put him allow him to breed in the gene pool to further weaken the already fragile breed. The old spot is it's a breed that needs a lot of help.
Yeah,
and too much breeding for selling breeders has gone on. Honestly, when we first got into it, I had that approach as well. I just thought we gotta reproduce these animals. They're so rare.
Yeah.
Completely ignorant of the fact that you got to really be careful here. So we, revisited that idea and slowed down, and now we only pull the best out for selling as breeders.
Do you have like a check? Like I'm imagining like a used card 120 point checklist. Like, is there like factors?
Sort of, but it's all we don't go through it on paper. We just pick out the when I'm looking at a litter when it comes time to tag them for registering. We go through them then.
And you can just
look at the leg sets, the ear sets, the hips, the structure. Wow. It's a confirmation, and
it's just something that you've learned now. It's not even like. You're not even almost consciously going through it. You can just
some of the things we are, like for instance, sows, and gilts. You're counting teats to make sure they've got 14 or an even number. So there are certain things that you consciously go over. But I mean, honestly, sometimes you just look down at a pig and you say, "Oh, you poor animal." I'm sorry. Other times you look at one and you say, "I'm keeping you." It's just that nice of an animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it comes with time.
Yeah. And so you said you have a couple of children that also, I'm assuming they're also around the farm and things like that. Has there ever been a problem with them becoming attached to the animals?
Actually, yeah. We all became attached to the first animal we ever had to send to slaughter. That was emotional for everybody.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine.
No, it was not a fun time. And as time went on, it became a little bit easier. Honestly, I sold off a herd of breeders to a friend of mine in Georgia last year, and when those animals left, I was kind of a wreck for a little bit. They were important parts of our farm.
Yeah.
So you do become attached to those. That have been there for a while.
Yeah. Especially when you're taking a lot of care, and it's one thing if it's 500 chickens in a coop or something, or one of those horrible things. That you see these
animals every day.
Yeah.
Once, sometimes twice, sometimes more than that. Obviously.
Yeah.
You help them through the weather situations. You help them through the farrowing process or birthing process. There might be times where you've helped them out and you become attached. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm assuming no names?
No, we do name them. Anything that is there for breeding purposes is named.
Okay.
Typically, the old spots, we just decided we needed a theme, and we named the old spots after something from Seinfeld. So we had Cosmo and Jackie Childs. We have all the all the boars are named after something from Seinfeld in that regard. The females are Mulva, and her replacement was Dolores. So we follow the theme of Seinfeld.
That's great.
The old spots are easy to name. Nice. The Tamworth, usually they have other names like Fatty or, there's not as attractive names. They're just a little different animal. Not as easy to become attached to.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess to wrap it up, I mean, you've clearly, developed a talent for raising these pigs. Has there even ever been an inkling of you thinking about another animal, or like you trying to step out? I mean, I obviously, everything's slow and you want to learn it, but I mean, has that temptation ever been there? Or?
I did think about beef, but honestly, there are so many people doing beef that I just wanted to be good at one particular breed. We also do eggs and we do meat birds as well.
Okay.
We do French label roost chickens, and that's a separate little project that happens just during the summer months. So, So to answer the question on other livestock, no, we have our hands full with the pigs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, it is, and we're never done learning with those pigs either. I mean, it's just constantly evolving. My vet says if you haven't seen it before, it means you haven't been doing it long enough, and he's so right.
Yeah,
he's so right.
Are you still like literally learning things?
Oh,
like,
yes,
just completely
every day,
new?
Every day, and that's what makes it interesting. It's not the same thing every day. It's always something different.
Nice. I can imagine it's a long day.
It is. We have jobs off the farm and full-time jobs, and you come home and you can't take the day off. It doesn't matter weather or anything. You have to do it. Wow. So it's a big responsibility.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for coming down here.
I
love what you guys are doing, and it is delicious. And every time I'm looking forward. I actually have not been to Carmelo's yet, and I've heard that they're what is it? The pig dinner, the full.
Yeah, the butcher's plate. Yeah, they're amazing.
Soon to be featured.
I sat in on one of those. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and soon to be featured on Travel Channel, I believe.
Yeah, actually, it was on.
It was?
Yeah, it was on a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, I suck. All right, well, I'll link the video to that.
Yeah, find it. Yeah, it was good. Good time.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming down here. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.